Free agent profile and prediction for Michael King. Michael King was a San Diego Padre and a darn good one after being part of the Juan Soto deal and probably the headliner of the Juan Soto return that got him to the Yankees for his walk year. Michael King is 30 years old, and this former 12th round pick out of Boston College has blossomed into a very good starting pitcher. This guy made 34 appearances out of the Yankee bullpen in 22 at a 2.29 ERA. He was looking like a legit setup guy. So what happens next? The swingman, Michael King. He threw over 100 innings in 2023 in his final year in New York. And in 49 appearances, 9 of which starts, he also saved 6 games. He had a 2.75 ERA, and he punched out 11 hitters per 9 in those 105 innings. Then what does he do? He punches out over 200 guys in his first year with San Diego. He finishes 7th in National League Cy Young voting. And in 30 starts, he threw 174 innings at a 2.95 ERA. In 2025, he was limited with injury, but an injury-hampered Michael King was still an effective Michael King. 15 starts, 73 innings. He threw a complete game shutout, and he had a 3.44 ERA. The injury looms, but this guy over the last 4 years has not given you a single doubt that he can be a frontline starting pitcher. And that comes with the unique arsenal and setup of him. He's a big guy, and he is as horizontally inclined as any pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, Michael King, I think if he hits free agency after 24, we're talking about a no doubt 9-figure contract, a guy that would be at the top of this market, even if he had that a repeat even of 2024 and 2025. If he had done that for 2 years as a starting pitcher, I think there's almost no reservations about Michael King as a free agent. The injury stuff is a question for sure. And so I do wonder if that limits his market as far as how many years he gets. But if you're looking for impact starters, a guy that could be your game one starter in a playoff series, I think Michael King clearly has that upside. And he's going to be a flyer that some team is really excited to take a chance on.
Not to constantly throw shots at Dylan Cease, because I'm not trying to do that. But if King repeated, I feel like it's a consensus that Michael King is the better free agent pitcher than Dylan Cease. No, it feels like he would be consensus 1, to your point, if he repeated what he did in 24.
100%. And that's what teams are going to bid on. I'm very curious if teams sort of throw out 2025 and aren't worried about the injury stuff at all. But I think just the lack of track record overall is why Dylan Cease stands out so much more, because he's just 32 starts. He's going to strike out 200. The ERA, who knows if it's going to be in the 4s or the 2s, but he has that upside to be in the 2s, and that's why teams are going to pay and give him that long-term deal. With Michael King, there's that uncertainty, but again, the upside is undeniable, and I think there's going to be some teams that aren't even looking at Cease and could just really kick the tires on Michael King, because they really buy into the fact that if this guy's healthy, you almost know what you're going to get. It feels like if Michael King is on the mound and healthy, you're talking about a sub 3.5 ERA, could be even better, ton of strikeouts, and even a ton of innings too. If he's right, he's the type of guy that can go deep into games too.
Yep. Michael King, by the way, in 2024, when he was arguably a top 10 pitcher in baseball, he had 4 pitches at a positive run value, including that changeup, which was one of the best in baseball. It was also one of the best in baseball when he was on the mound in 2025. He threw just 260 of them, and he accumulated a run value of positive 6 on that changeup. Michael King, again, it's changeup working arm side, it's sweeper working glove side, and he gets as much horizontal separation as anybody in baseball. But it is a tightrope act when you think about what he could be, what he was before the injury, and what he could be after the injury if things don't go well. I assume that you have a pretty high average annual value, not over the course of 6 or 7 years. What do you have?
So I went with 3 years, 66 million. And it's funny that in our Ranger Suarez prediction, you compared these two. I have the AAV at the exact same amount. Now, I think that there's a good chance that Michael King would make more than that in the 2026 season with that opt-out. So I think it's a pillow contract. He might make 25 million or 26 million in that first year, and then he gets a couple years of security on the back end of the deal if he does have to opt in. and potentially keep going out. Who knows? Maybe Michael King is at the level in this market where he might even be able to get an opt-out after each year of a 3-year deal. And it really is favoring him to be able to enter free agency after a better platform year. I don't know if he's going to get the 5-year deal. If there's a team that's willing to sort of throw out any concerns and give him that 5-6-year deal, especially when, again, we're talking about all of these top starting pitchers having that qualifying offer attached. So it's just that extra barrier of entry that might slow a team from going all the way in. But I think he's going to make a lot of money in 2026. And I think he's going to have a contract that's going to allow him to hit free agency again next year, hopefully after a better season. And then we could be talking about a completely different market for Michael King a year from now.
So the two guys that jump out to me on an identical contract, Sonny Gray and Nathan Eovaldi both signed 3-year, $75 million deals. Sonny Gray did it because he was on the mound a lot and he was a spin machine in Minnesota. St. Louis loved what they saw and they go and acquire him. Eovaldi is an interesting one. King is a heck of a lot younger. Nathan Eovaldi is the most notable success story among the two Tommy John guys to this point. And Nathan Eovaldi, after 2 for 34 with Texas, got 3 for 75 going into last year. Now, he missed some time with injury, but in 130 innings, he had a sub-2 ERA. Nathan Eovaldi is making, I think it was 21 in 2025, 29 million in 2026, and then it goes back down to like 22 million in 2027. I'm not saying you guarantee Michael King 3 years, but I love where your head's at, where it's 3 years in total and there's a player option there. I would honestly, looking at Michael King, go higher AAV wise. You have it identical with Ranger. I'm with you. He could push to 25. I'm saying, heck, Michael King could push to 27 or 28 in terms of an average annual value. I think what you could do is a 2-year deal at 28 per year and then have a club option at 30 or a player option at 25. There are a couple of different ways that you can go about that. Are you like, what would make you balk at that?
So it doesn't. I'll be honest. I that was sort of the range for me. It was I thought, all right, high end 3 for 75, and then the reason why I ended up dropping it down to the 66. Yes, part of it was kind of aligning him AAV wise with Ranger, but also again it was what is the value of an opt out. And so I think if Michael King signs a straight 3-year deal, I think he probably could get a little bit more. To me, it's a matter of having that opt-out baked in. Maybe you have to take a little bit of a haircut on the total deal. But again, I still think, and it's something that I don't even remember if I wrote it in my full breakdown, but the first year of the deal that I'm envisioning in my mind is probably north of $25 million. And I think it is really incentivizing King to have a great year, hit the market without the QO next year. But again, I would not be surprised at all if there was a team that said, screw it, we'll give you the opt-out and we'll give you 3 for 75. Because like you said, there's precedent in place. Even Sean Manaea last year, the deferrals made it actually, I think, more in line. I think it ended up being closer to $22 million in present day value, but he got 3 for 75 with deferred cash. So it's not crazy at all to think that Michael King might get 75 million over 3 years with the opt-out still in place.
Now, what does the pipe dream of a possible 1+1 deal do for you? Do you think Michael King would be interested in signing a 1+1?
I think it's possible for sure, and not to sort of spoil a future prediction, but on Zach Gallen, I did have a 1+1, and I think that part of it was his agent. I just think that Scott Boras is going to take the Dylan Cease teams and say, hey, Zach Gallen's just as good. Where's my 7-year deal? And I can see him kind of overplaying his hand there. With Michael King, I don't believe he's represented by Boras. I think
he's an Excel client.
Yeah. So I think a 1+1 still makes sense. And, to your point from before, I think if it's a 1+1, you're looking at even a higher AAV. It might even just be $30 million year 1, year 2 option at 25, and you kind of roll from there. So I can see that as well. The less years you have to commit, the higher the AAV is going to be naturally. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he decides, you know what, I'm going to take the highest amount of money I can make in 2026 because last year was a fluke. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to strike out 220 and I'm going to go into the market next year and I'm going to get the 30 million a year over 5 years, which he absolutely could if he has a huge season.
That's what intrigues me most about King, where this guy seems like he should have the confidence to go out there and say, you know what, I'm healthy. I'm going to shove. I'm going to go get my bag next year. He won't take the depleted or, I guess, bargain version of his long term deal. He wants 1 year to prove it. He's got confidence in himself. He proves it. And then all of a sudden, we're talking about him again next year. And this guy's signing a 6 year deal. You've got some interesting possible fits here. San Diego, a reunion. We'll see how tight the cash is for them. Toronto, the Yankees, the Orioles. Who do you feel like is the best fit for Michael King?
So there's a couple of interesting ones. The Padres, again, we like to include the former teams in our landing spots articles because you never know. You can't rule things out. And depending on if Michael King's market never materializes, maybe the Padres can get in. I agree. It feels a little unlikely that they're going to spend to the level that it would take to get King back. The few that interest me the most, I think if he did go to Baltimore, that would be an amazing fit for the Orioles, and I would hope that they would try to spend like that because to me, that's a guy that you get and say, you know what, he's going to be our ace. We're gonna buy into it, and they could really get a pitcher that changes them in a huge way this upcoming season. My prediction though was the Boston Red Sox. I think the Red Sox need a two. Michael King can be that two behind Crochet, and that 1-2 punch would be dynamic for the Red Sox. So I like the Red Sox as a really nice fit for him, but any of those teams that are contenders could use a Michael King.
How much do you value him being from there? I think you should value it a lot because he went to Bishop Hendricken in Rhode Island. He went to Boston College. This is a Northeast guy. For me, this really that's a huge factor for me when you look at free agency. Is the guy from there? Is the guy from the vicinity? People were stunned at Chris Bryant signing with Colorado. And I know this isn't an awesome example, but like Chris Bryant's from Vegas. Vegas to Denver is not that bad. Nathan Eovaldi's from Houston. He wanted to sign in Texas. Free agency is when you have the opportunity to pursue your personal interests. Obviously, money is going to be a universal personal interest. Everybody loves money. Everybody freaking loves money. People love winning as well. People also love being close to home. It is a recruiting tool. And I feel like that makes a lot of sense that you've got the New England kid going to the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, that was another one of the things that sort of tipped the scales where, sure, there are free agents like Luis Severino that are just going to take top dollar amount and go wherever they can. But when you're going to have a market as healthy as I think Michael King is going to have, you can really pick your landing spot. And what better landing spot for him to go to a Red Sox team that I'm sure he probably grew up idolizing. You get to go pitch in Fenway, and you get to go to a really exciting team. I just think that if the Red Sox are in, I would think that they're pretty high up on Michael King's list.
I love it. And you sound like a salty Met fan bringing up Luis Severino here. That was your free agent profile and prediction for Michael King.